Okay, what should entrepreneurs focus on? Action or research? I just wrote a blog post about this, and my argument from my research and my mentors and my experience is that you should research as much as you can, read hundreds of blogs, watch hundreds of videos, read a dozen or so books on a topic before you take any action. You see, a lot of people talk about taking dedicated, strong, consistent action. That's very important. But you see, for every 1 hour you spend researching, you can save 5 hours of making mistakes. So as soon as you start researching about a topic, say you want to go into eBay or Fulfilled by Amazon or writing a book or starting a business or understanding marketing, just go into Google, go into YouTube, go into Amazon and just type marketing and search down every other suggested search term and put that into Google, put that into YouTube, put it into Amazon, and find out as much as you can about any topic. I spent around 2 weeks in November learning about inbound marketing and how to use content and blogs and all the rest to get traffic and get attention and get customers. The point is, you want to spend as much time as you can researching before you take action, because to take wise, knowledgeable and well-researched action is much better than just taking blind action. Again, for every 1 hour you spend researching, you can save 5 hours of making mistakes, which means if you spend an hour reading a book about someone's 10 years of experience in marketing, you can read that and you can come to the same conclusions, lessons and ideas that took him 10 years to master, but in the case of an afternoon. In economics, we call that the convergence rate, which talks about the rate at which X can catch up to Y in a much shorter space of time that it took Y to get to Z. So let's say, imagine icebreaker ships in like the North Pole or South Pole. The icebreaker ship takes a year or so to dig like a canal, cutting through the ice to get 1 mile canal. He breaks through that. It takes all this energy to get through it the first time, this canal, this river, so to speak. He takes all this energy, and yet once he's finished it, other ships afterwards can then just go straight into that 1 mile in a day or 2 or 3, whatever. The point is to follow those and learn from those that have already done and learned what you need to learn before you take action. Go crazy with knowledge searching. YouTube, Google, Amazon, books, as much as you can, everywhere and everything. Blogs, as much as you can. The thing is, though, you've got to take it with a bit of pinch of salt, because not everyone in the world knows what they're talking about, and the people who will be giving advice aren't necessarily the smartest or the wisest or the most experienced or the most people you want to trust. So take the knowledge with a bit of a pinch of salt. What you want to do, take it with a pinch of salt, and then you look at it compared to all the knowledge, information you've already learned. You say, does this idea make sense, or is it compatible with my existing knowledge? If it isn't, then take it as a lesson, take it as what not to do. And that's the other thing. Learning what not to do is as equally as important as learning what to do. Because think of it, what is success? Define what success is in any term, and then figure out what you don't need for success. And then as soon as you start realizing what you don't need, you're kind of halfway there to learning what you do need. So don't do this, don't do that, don't do X, don't do Y. Okay, instead you want to do the opposite, or do A, do B, do C. Learning what not to do is equally as important as knowing what to do. So this is why I say read from blogs, read interviews, read articles, because people share their experiences, and some people's experiences are more valuable than others. Other thing though is interviews, depending on who's being interviewed, generally speaking, they are quite good, especially on YouTube, because the person being interviewed generally is already an expert or already established, so he would have some good knowledge or good information that you can just learn and apply. Again, what's convergence rate? What took him a year or 2 or whatever to learn, you can understand it and master it and apply it into your business overnight. So you want to go crazy with doing research, but then the dilemma is, when do you take action? I feel there's 2 ways around it. One, where you get to the point where you start to feel guilty, that you've done enough research. It's like you're starting to repeat yourself, and you know what you're talking about now. You start to feel guilty, and it's like, okay, now it's time to take action. Alternative is when you understand what you need to do, when you need to do, or what not to do, and how to do it, and then it's like, okay, I know what to do, and there's no more questions. There's no more concerns. There's no more doubt. You know what you're doing, and then take action. I say you want to do as much research as possible, a week or two, whatever, even a month, a year, whatever, researching this one specific topic, one specific type of topic before you take action, because that way you can make less mistakes and you get to the success much easier. I'm in the middle of starting another business of mine, which is e-commerce as well. It's called We Want Hemp. It's to do with hemp clothing and champion the use of hemp and bringing hemp into the mainstream conscious. Once I've finished a lot of blogs and videos, I'm going to need to spend probably 2 weeks or so, certainly a week, researching, watching dozens and dozens of documentaries and reading probably a dozen or so books on hemp. Taking notes and researching everything. CBD, THC, the history of hemp manufacturing process. Maybe you have to ring a few people and get a few interviews or whatever. Or maybe you have to visit a farm, I don't know. But the point is, I'll have to do a ton of research on this one specific topic for this other business of mine before I can take massive, dedicated action. Because I can take much more dedicated action when I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing. Because it's like run a marathon. Okay, where, how, what path are you going to use? What are you going to wear? How are you going to prepare for it? And all this thinking and planning is the first half of the battle. Other half of the battle is the action. As soon as you get the underpinning, which is the research and understanding what you're doing, what you're talking about, then you can take much more action. And also, by researching about hemp, I can talk about hemp much more confidently. I can write blogs about it, I can write books about it, I can talk about it like this much more comfortably than if I were to be doing videos while researching at the same time, because my knowledge would increase and I'll get to the point where I missed a good point in this video, or I could have said this, or that doesn't make sense. But as soon as you know what you're talking about, you can cut straight to the result and cut straight to the action and not mess around with the failures or not mess around with the mistakes that would have occurred if you just jumped straight in. It's like going into the deep end of the swimming pool, jumping into the deep end of the swimming pool without learning how to swim. As soon as you spend 1 hour or 5 hours learning how to swim, you can spend so much more hours, or you can save so much more hours of not making the mistakes that than opposed if you just jump straight into the deep end. That's my idea on it. Spend as much time as you can on researching something, as much time as you can before you jump in. Research, learn, because one idea can lead to loads of other ideas, and that's what you ultimately want, because these ideas can give you that little nugget, that little golden nugget of knowledge that could be like, and changes your entire strategy. You don't know what you don't know, and the best way to figure out what you don't know is to keep learning. Books, blogs, videos, interviews, Kindle, everything. Just take it all in. You have to go crazy with knowledge and you have to really get carried away with adding videos to your YouTube watch later list. Just keep learning. And again, it's about learning what not to do is equally as important as learning what to do. And with all this knowledge and research and experience, then you can take much more dedicated, strong, confident action in what you're doing and what you're talking about. Because as soon as you can argue against yourself better than the opposition can argue against you, then you know that you're acting in full confidence. And the best way to do that is learn everything. Learn everything, and then you can start acting in much stronger strides and be much more efficient and cut straight to the success. How cool is that? So subscribe, comment, like, share. There's much more cool stuff on the way. How cool is that? Subscribe if you haven't already.